Something feels wrong. You've always felt it, haven't you? The unease. The questions you're not supposed to ask. The thoughts that creep in when the world goes quiet. You are about to embark on a journey, a descent into the thoughts that keep you awake at night. The thoughts you try to drown out with distractions. But here, there is no escape. 50 questions. 50 ideas. 50 reasons to doubt everything you've ever known. Are you ready? Feel free to let this video play in the background, whether you're relaxing, working, or drifting off to sleep. The visuals don't matter, only the journey of thought. Just listen, and let your mind wander. And if you enjoy this kind of content, a like and a sub would mean a lot. It helps keep these explorations going. The curse of self-awareness. You wake up. The room is quiet, too quiet. Your mind is already awake before you are, whispering, reminding you. You exist. And just like that, the thoughts begin. You try to shake them off, but they cling like shadows. What if you could never escape your own mind? What if the very thing that makes you you is also your greatest torment? This is the burden of self-awareness, the silent horror that has haunted humanity since the dawn of thought. And the more you try to ignore it, the louder it becomes. For most creatures, life is simple. Eat. Sleep. Survive. No worrying about the past, no fear of the future. They exist in the moment. But somewhere along the evolutionary path, something went terribly wrong. Consciousness, our greatest tool, became our greatest torment. At first, it helped us survive, plan, and adapt. But then, it did something no other creature's mind does. It turned inward. It began to question. Unlike the beast that acts purely on instinct, we are burdened with memories that haunt us, fears that paralyze us, and questions that have no answers. We are aware of time, and worse, we are aware that it is running out. Self-awareness is not a gift. It is a mirror that never stops reflecting. It forces you to see everything, the regrets, the missed chances, the creeping realization that no matter what you do, it will never be enough. It's the voice in your head that whispers when the room is silent. The weight in your chest that lingers, even when everything should be fine. But it gets worse. To be aware of yourself is to be aware of your end. Unlike the creatures that roam the earth without a care, you know what's coming. You know that one day, you will simply cease to be. But how? When? What happens after? The mind circles these questions like a predator stalking its prey. There are no answers. Only the fear of the unknown. Close your eyes. Listen. Can you hear it? The silence of your own mind, broken only by the thoughts that refuse to leave. Memories surface, things you wish you could forget. Regrets. Shame. The past creeping into the present like a ghost that will never rest. And then there's the future. The uncertainty. The fear of what's coming, of what could go wrong. Of time slipping through your fingers, faster and faster, no matter how tightly you try to hold on. You try to distract yourself. You pick up your phone. Turn on the TV. Anything to drown out the thoughts. But the moment you stop, the moment you let your guard down, it's back. It never truly leaves. Imagine a nightmare you can never wake up from. A maze where every turn leads back to the beginning. That is what it means to be trapped in self-awareness. And no matter how much you try to ignore it, the mind always finds a way to remind you, you are not free. This raises a terrifying question, one that
Feel free
to let this video play in the background.
centuries.
Whether you're relaxing,
If ignorance is
working,
bliss,
or drifting
would you be
off to
happier
sleep?
without
The
self-awareness?
visuals don't matter.
Would it be
Only
better
the
to
journey
live
of
like the
thought.
beasts,
Just
unburdened
listen,
by existential
and let your
dread?
mind wander.
Or is
And
this
if you
suffering
enjoy
the
this
price
kind
we
of
pay
content,
for intelligence?
a like and a sub would mean
We
a
are
lot.
the only known
It helps
beings
keep
in the
these
universe
explorations
that
going.
understand our own suffering.
The only creatures who can predict our own demise, who can contemplate the vast indifference of the cosmos, who can grasp the terrifying insignificance of our existence. If knowledge is power, then why does it feel like a curse? You can turn off this video. You can walk away. But the thoughts, they will stay. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real horror. Because if self-awareness is a prison, what happens when the walls begin to crack? What if your consciousness itself is an illusion, one that is slowly unraveling? And what if, when it finally does, there is nothing left? The prison of the mind, why we are trapped in our own thoughts. Is your identity even real? Or are you nothing more than a collection of past experiences, memories stitched together by a mind that deceives itself? If you could strip everything away, your name, your history, your thoughts, what would be left? You exist within your own mind, trapped in a space no one else can enter. No matter how deeply you try to connect, how much you share, or how well you articulate your feelings, no one will ever truly experience what it is like to be you. And that is the greatest loneliness of all. From the moment you were born, you have been locked inside your own consciousness. Other people may touch your skin, hear your words, even share your presence, but they will never see through your eyes. They will never feel your thoughts the way you do. They only get fragments, interpretations, echoes of what's inside. Think of a conversation. You speak. They respond. But do they really hear you? Or are they just processing their own thoughts, waiting for their turn to talk? The words you say pass through the filter of another mind, distorted, misunderstood, reshaped. And when they respond, you do the same to them. We call it connection, but is it? Or are we just lonely souls, forever orbiting each other, never truly touching? Picture yourself standing in front of a mirror. You reach out, but the reflection isn't you. It's an image, a distortion, a reversal. Just like every interaction you've ever had. No one has ever truly seen the real you. Not completely. And they never will. Your thoughts feel personal, intimate, real. But in reality, they are nothing more than electrical signals bouncing through your brain, a machine made of flesh, neurons firing in patterns dictated by biology and experience. So why does it feel like more? If your mind is just a collection of memories, impulses, and chemical reactions, then what are you? A ghost trapped in a machine? A passenger in a body you do not control? Or is the idea of self just an illusion, a comforting lie told by an organ trying to make sense of its own existence? Consider this: if you change a machine's wiring, you change how it functions. And if your brain is just a machine, then your personality, your thoughts, even your soul, if you believe in such a thing, can be altered by a flicker of electricity, a shift in chemistry, a tiny, imperceptible change in the machinery of your mind. So who or what are you really? Perhaps you are not the one in control. Perhaps you are simply watching, a helpless observer to the chaos of your own thoughts. And if that's true, then who is thinking right now? The illusion of free will. Are you really in control? If I could rewind your life to yesterday, would you make the same choices? Would you hesitate before speaking? Would your hand still reach for the same door handle, the same drink, the same familiar habits? Or was there never a choice to begin with? You believe you are in control. That your thoughts are yours, that your actions stem from conscious decisions. But what if everything, the words you say, the steps you take, even this very moment, was already set in motion long before you even realized it? What if free will is nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion? Every decision you make feels like a choice. But what if that choice was inevitable? Consider this: your thoughts do not appear out of nowhere. They are shaped by every experience you have ever had. The things you believe, the people you trust, the actions you take, each one is a product of what came before it. If you were raised in a different home, with different parents, in a different country, speaking a different language, would you still be you? Would you hold the same beliefs? Make the same choices? Or would an entirely different version of you exist, walking a path you will never see? This is determinism, the idea that everything in your life is a chain reaction. You do not create your thoughts. They arise from past events, genetics, subconscious biases, things you never chose. You did not pick the body you were born into. You did not choose the way your brain processes the world. And yet you believe you are in control. Are you? You feel as if you are making decisions in real time, weighing options and choosing the best path. But the reality is far more unsettling. Scientists have found that your brain makes decisions before you are consciously aware of them. Brain scans reveal neural activity predicting a choice seconds before you even know what you will do. Your mind is simply playing catch-up, constructing a narrative to make it feel as if you had control all along. Consider the last time you made a decision. Did you truly decide? Or did the decision simply happen, and your brain convinced you otherwise? Like a puppet with invisible strings, you move through the world believing you are pulling the strings yourself. Feel free to let this video play in the background. But if you could see the forces whether you're relaxing, the wiring of your brain, drifting off the weight of your past, the visuals don't matter. You might realize you were never free at all. Just listen. So ask yourself and let your mind wander. When you reach the next fork in the road, and if you enjoy this kind of content, at the edge of choice, a like and a sub would mean a lot. It helps keep these explorations already been made? The absurdity of life, searching for meaning in a meaningless universe. You are born. You suffer. You die. What's the point? Day after day, you wake up, follow routines, chase ambitions, yet the universe does not care. The stars do not watch. The cosmos is indifferent to your existence, and when you are gone, it will be as if you were never here at all. So why do we keep searching for meaning in a universe that offers none? Philosophers have wrestled with this question for centuries. Nietzsche saw meaning as something we must create ourselves, but one that most are too afraid to do so. Camus argued that life is absurd, a contradiction between our desire for purpose and the silent, meaningless void of the universe. He compared human existence to the myth of Sisyphus, an endless, futile struggle to push a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down. And yet we keep pushing. The truth is, every belief, every system of meaning, whether religious, moral, or personal, is a construct. A framework built to shield us from the terrifying reality that, at its core, life simply is. It has no inherent purpose, no grand design, no ultimate destination. We are running a race with no finish line. And for some, that realization is unbearable. Picture Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to an eternity of meaningless labor. He rolls his boulder up the hill, knowing full well it will come crashing back down. He does not rebel. He does not complain. He simply continues. Are we any different? We chase success, love, knowledge, only to find that no achievement, no possession, no understanding is ever enough. There is always another hill to climb, another burden to bear, another reason to keep pushing. But Camus offers a strange kind of hope. If we accept the absurd, if we stop searching for cosmic meaning and instead create our own, we can be free. We can find joy in the struggle itself. The absurd man does not demand answers. He does not seek permission. He simply lives. So, if life has no meaning beyond what you give it, then the question is no longer what is the point. The question is, what will you do with the time you have left? Solipsism. What if you are the only conscious being? If a world disappears when you close your eyes, did it ever exist? Right now you see people, objects, an entire reality unfolding around you. But what if it's all just a projection? What if every face you pass, every voice you hear, every interaction you have is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion, one designed for you and you alone? What if you are the only conscious being in existence? You assume other people are like you, thinking, feeling, existing in the same way. But how do you know? You cannot enter their minds. You cannot hear their thoughts. You cannot prove, with absolute certainty, that they are anything more than highly complex simulations. Consider your dreams. When you are asleep, entire worlds are constructed around you. You interact with people who seem real, who speak and move and feel, but the moment you wake up, they vanish. They were never conscious. They were never real. What if waking life is no different? What if everything around you, the people, the places, the rules of reality itself, is just a dream you have yet to wake up from? Imagine walking through a city and suddenly noticing something off. The way people move, the way they react, the way conversations seem scripted. Have you ever felt like you were being watched? That reality itself is too perfect, or too broken. Some believe in NPCs, people who exist only to fill space, to play a role, to interact with you but never show true depth. Have you ever seen someone act strangely when they think no one is looking? Ever spoken to a stranger who gave an answer that felt hollow? The philosopher Descartes proposed that the only thing we can truly be certain of is our own mind. I think, therefore I am. But beyond that, everything else is uncertain. Everything else could be a fabrication. What if your entire life has been designed? A test, an experiment, a prison? What if the world around you exists only as long as you observe it, and vanishes the moment you turn away? If you are the only conscious being, then who, or what, is controlling everything else? And more importantly, what happens if you try to break free? The curse of intelligence. Does more knowledge equals more suffering? They say ignorance is bliss. If that's true, should we wish to be less aware? The more you understand the world, the more you see its flaws. The deeper you think, the heavier existence becomes. And the smarter you are, the more you realize just how little control you actually have. Knowledge is supposed to be a gift. But what if it's a curse? The mind is a double-edged sword. Intelligence allows us to innovate, to explore, to understand, but it also forces us to confront truths most would rather ignore. You begin to see the patterns of human suffering. Feel free to let this video play in the background, repeating endlessly. Whether you're relaxing, you recognize the absurdity of existence. The visuals don't matter, of life and only the journey of universe. Just listen, the smarter you are, and let your mind wander. The harder it is to distract yourself. And if you enjoy this kind of content, a like and a sub others would mean can find joy in simple things. It helps keep these explorations going. You see the cracks beneath the surface. The illusion fades. And what remains is a cold, relentless awareness. Studies have shown a correlation between intelligence and mental health struggles. Highly intelligent individuals report higher rates of anxiety, depression, and existential distress. Why? Because knowledge strips away comfort. It forces you to ask questions that have no satisfying answers. It makes you aware of dangers before they arrive, disappointments before they happen. Your mind becomes a machine, endlessly analyzing, dissecting, overthinking. A simple life, free from existential dread, is a luxury the intelligent rarely have. So if knowledge only brings suffering, would you be happier if you knew less? Or is the real horror knowing that it's already too late to forget? The horror of time. Are we trapped in an eternal loop? What if you are forced to live this exact life forever? Every joy, every heartbreak, every mistake, doomed to repeat for eternity. You might believe time moves forward, a straight line from past to future. But what if that's just an illusion? What if every moment has already happened, and will happen again, forever? We experience time as a sequence. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. A steady march toward an unknown future. But physics tells a different story. Einstein's theory of relativity suggests that time is not linear. It is a dimension, just like space. The past is not gone. The future is not waiting to be written. Every moment exists all at once, like frames on a film strip. You are simply moving through them, unaware that your story is already complete. So if time is fixed, can you ever truly change anything? Or are you just playing out a script that has already been written? Now, imagine a deeper horror. one proposed by Nietzsche. Eternal recurrence. What if, when you die, you do not escape? Instead, you wake up again, at the beginning. Every breath, every decision, every failure, repeating exactly as before. You will love the same people, suffer the same losses, ask the same questions. Forever. You wouldn't know it's happening. You wouldn't remember the last time you lived this life, or the hundreds, the thousands of times before. So ask yourself, if this is your eternal fate, would you be satisfied with the life you've lived? Or would you beg for a way out? If time is a loop, then free will is an illusion. And the real question is, have you heard these words before? Death, the great unknown, and why it terrifies us. You don't fear the time before you were born. So why fear what comes after? Death is inevitable. It waits for us all. And yet, for something so certain, it remains the greatest mystery of all. What happens when the body stops? When the mind fades? When consciousness slips into the abyss? Do we move on, or do we simply stop? Every culture, every civilization, has tried to answer this question. Some believe in an afterlife, heaven, reincarnation, another plane of existence. Others insist that death is final, an eternal silence from which there is no return. But here's the real horror, we don't know. Science can measure the moment a heart stops beating, the instant the brain shuts down, but beyond that? It's a void. A question without an answer. And perhaps, the most unsettling part is that we may never find out until it's too late. Try to imagine it. No thoughts. No dreams. No awareness. Just nothing. But here's the paradox. You can't imagine it. Because to imagine is to exist. So what does it mean to disappear completely? What does it mean to reach the end of everything you are? And if death truly is the end, does anything you do in life really matter? Perhaps the real terror is not in dying, but in realizing that you will never know what comes next. And maybe, just maybe, you already have. The quantum nightmare. What if consciousness never dies? What if you survive every possible death, in another version of reality? You step into the street. A truck speeds toward you. In one reality, you are crushed beneath its weight. In another, you step back just in time. But what if, from your perspective, you always live? What if death is something that only happens to others, while you continue on, forever? The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that every possible outcome of an event splits into a new reality. If this is true, then every time you should die, there exists a universe where you don't. Your consciousness, your awareness, only ever follows the timeline where you survive. In the grand web of existence, there is always a version of you that keeps going. This means, from your own perspective, you never truly experienced death. Only an unbroken chain of survival. But here's the nightmare. What if you survive, forever? Schrödinger's famous thought experiment describes a cat in a box, both dead and alive until observed. Feel free to let this video play in the background. What if you are the cat? Whether you're relaxing, what if working, at every moment drifting of your life, to sleep, you exist in countless different states. The visuals don't matter. Some leading to survival, some to oblivion. Listen. And let your mind wander. What if your consciousness is trapped in the realities where death never comes? And if you enjoy this kind of content, a like and a sub would mean a lot. Imagine the horror. It helps keep these explorations going. You age, decay, suffer, yet never reach an end. A cosmic prison of existence, where no matter how many times you should have died, you wake up again. And again. And again. If death is not the escape we think it is, what happens when there's nothing left of you but existence itself? 10. The final realization. Do we accept or reject reality? If reality is an illusion, should we play along, or wake up? You have spent your entire life inside a world that may not be real. A world that may be built on false assumptions, illusions, and comforting lies. But now you face a choice. Do you embrace the absurdity of existence? Or do you reject reality itself? Acceptance versus rejection. Philosophers and thinkers throughout history have wrestled with the same dilemma. If life is meaningless, if the universe is indifferent, then what is left for us to do? Some choose acceptance, the path of Camus, of existentialists who stare into the abyss and smile. They acknowledge the void and find their own meaning within it. They love, they create, they choose to live, even knowing it is all temporary. Others choose rejection, detachment from reality, denial of the self, or even complete nihilism. Some turn to spiritual transcendence, believing in a higher plane beyond this illusion. Others let go entirely, dissolving into nothingness, surrendering to the absurdity of it all. Which path is the right one? Does meaning matter? If nothing matters, does that give us freedom, or does it leave us lost? If reality is a game, should we play along, making our own rules? Or should we break free, stepping outside the illusion altogether? This is the ultimate question. What do you choose? Two doors stand before you. One leads to light, acceptance. The other to darkness, rejection. But here's the truth. You've already made your choice. You just don't remember yet. 11. The paradox of free will. Are we truly in control? If every decision has already been made for you, then who, if anyone, is really responsible? You wake up. You stretch, get out of bed, and make your first choice of the day. Or did you? What if the choice was never yours to begin with? What if every action you take, every thought you have, was already set in motion long before you existed? Do we actually make choices, or are we just reacting? The debate has raged for centuries. Do we truly have free will, or is it an illusion? Every decision we make feels deliberate, personal, yet science and philosophy suggest otherwise. Neuroscientists have found that the brain makes decisions before we consciously realize them. Psychologists point to subconscious influences, genetics, upbringing, trauma, cultural conditioning, that shape every move we make. So, are we really in control, or merely reacting to unseen forces? Determinism or true free will? Some argue for determinism, the idea that every action is preordained by the past. According to this view, the universe operates like a vast, unbreakable chain of cause and effect. You may feel like you're choosing, but in reality, you are following a script written by physics, biology, and circumstance. Others believe in true free will, the power to shape destiny, to carve out an original path untethered from fate. They argue that human consciousness allows us to override instinct, to make choices that are truly our own. But if free will exists, where does it come from? And why does it feel so fragile? Are we authors or just readers? If we are merely playing out a role assigned by the universe, does that absolve us of responsibility? If our choices are inevitable, then can anyone ever truly be blamed, or praised, for their actions? Or is it possible that we are both? That we are characters in a story, unaware that we are also the ones writing it? Every turn you take, every decision you make, may already be mapped out before you enter the maze. But if you can't escape it, does that mean it was never a choice to begin with? 12. What if you've lived this life before? What if you've already made every decision you'll ever make, and you just forgot? Have you ever felt it? A moment of déjà vu so strong it sends a chill down your spine. A feeling that you've done this before, not just something similar, but this exact moment. The way the light flickers. The sound of your breath. The precise sequence of events. It's as if your life is playing out on a loop, and you are just now realizing it. Déjà vu, strange memories, and impossible coincidences, evidence of a repeating existence. Déjà vu precognition. Familiarity with places you've never been. Some dismiss them as glitches of the brain, misfiring neurons scrambling reality. But what if they are something more? A remnant of a past cycle? A whisper from a version of yourself who has done this all before? Eternal recurrence versus one-time experience. Philosophers like Nietzsche proposed eternal recurrence. The idea that we live this same life over to let this video play in the background, endlessly repeating whether you're relaxing, triumph, working, or drifting off to sleep. The theory suggests that the visuals don't matter, and you will return to this exact moment just listen number of times and let your mind wander. On the other hand, and if you enjoy this kind of content, a one-time experience would mean a lot. A fleeting, it helps singular explorations that vanishes as soon as it ends. No loops, no second chances, just this brief moment, slipping through your fingers. Does knowing we might return change how we live now? If you knew you were fated to relive this exact life forever, would it change how you act? Would it make you more careful, more daring, more reckless? Or would you surrender, knowing that every mistake, every regret, is doomed to repeat? Or does it even matter? If you forget every cycle, then is it truly a loop, or just another illusion? The spiral keeps turning, the loop repeats. And somewhere, in a past life or a future one, you are watching this again. The nightmare of an eternal afterlife. What if there is no off switch for existence? We spend our lives fearing death, dreading the moment when everything fades to black. But what if the true horror is not in the ending, but in the fact that it never comes? That no matter how much time passes, you remain aware? That the clock ticks on, but there are no hands to measure the eternity stretching before you? We fear death, but what if the real horror is never dying? To die is to surrender to the unknown. Some believe in heaven, some in reincarnation, others in pure oblivion. But what if none of those answers are correct? What if, instead, consciousness persists? What if the afterlife is not a paradise or an abyss, but a prison of infinite awareness? Infinite consciousness versus true oblivion. The first possibility is infinite consciousness. Your mind never shuts down, never fades, never finds rest. Whether trapped in a cosmic limbo, a digital simulation, or a fractured state of awareness, you exist, and exist, and exist. Forever. The alternative is true oblivion, a complete cessation of experience. No light, no dark, no thoughts. But can we even comprehend such a thing? If you have never not existed, can you truly grasp the absence of all things? Would you rather experience infinite time, or no time at all? Which is worse, knowing that your mind will endure without end, or knowing that one day you will simply be gone? If given the choice, would you embrace the endless void or the weight of eternity? Or perhaps, there is no choice at all. The seconds stretch into centuries, the centuries into eons. And somewhere, you are still watching. The consciousness that wasn't meant to exist. Did nature intend for us to be this? Or did something go terribly wrong? Self-awareness. The defining trait of humanity. The ability to reflect, to think about thinking, to recognize one's own existence. We assume it is an advantage, a gift of evolution. But what if it wasn't supposed to happen? What if consciousness is not a step forward, but a glitch? A mutation that should never have been? Did evolution make a mistake by creating self-awareness? For every other creature, life is simple. Eat. Survive. Reproduce. No questions, no doubts. But humans? We are burdened by something more, awareness. We contemplate the past, obsess over the future, and wrestle with the terror of existence itself. Did evolution craft a masterpiece, or a cruel joke? Awareness as an advantage versus awareness as a curse. One perspective sees self-awareness as an advantage. It allowed us to build civilizations, create art, and manipulate the world around us. Intelligence gave us the power to control nature rather than be controlled by it. But the other perspective suggests that awareness is a curse. No other animal suffers existential dread. No other species lies awake at night fearing the void. Maybe, just maybe, the universe never intended for a species to know this much, to be this aware. If we could turn off self-awareness, should we? If you had the chance to silence the endless noise of thought, to erase your fears and regrets, to return to a simpler state of being, would you? Or is consciousness a burden we must bear, no matter the cost? Or worse, perhaps we have no choice at all. The mind stirs, restless. The experiment continues. And somewhere, a consciousness wonders if it was ever meant to be. The uncanny valley of the self. If you stripped away everything you've been told about yourself, would anything remain? You wake up, look in the mirror, and see a face you recognize. But do you truly know the person staring back at you? The brain insists you are you, a singular, consistent identity. But is that really the truth, or just another illusion? You recognize yourself, but do you truly know yourself? We navigate the world under the assumption that we are a stable, coherent being. A single self that persists through time. Yet, every day, our thoughts change. Our emotions shift. Even our memories, those sacred markers of identity, distort and fade. If everything about us is in flux, then what remains constant? What, if anything, is truly you? The stable identity versus the illusion. Feel free to let this video play in the background. Some argue that we are who we believe we are, working, or that drifting off to changes. Some the visual of self persists beneath only the journey of thought, like the ship of Theseus. Just listen, where individual parts may be replaced. And if you enjoy this kind of content, a like and a sub would mean a lot. Is nothing it helps more keep than these explorations going. That identity is a fluid, ever-changing narrative we tell ourselves to create the illusion of stability. The truth may be more unsettling. The person you were yesterday is not the person you are today. And the person you are today will soon cease to exist. If you are different every moment, then who are you really? If the self is just a mirage, does it even matter? Do we embrace the fluidity of our identity, or do we cling to the illusion for the sake of our sanity? What happens when you can no longer recognize the mind behind your own eyes? Or perhaps the real question is more chilling. If you met yourself from a year ago, would you even recognize them? And if not, then who or what have you become? The universe before you were born. If you weren't here before, does that mean you'll disappear completely when you die? Close your eyes. Imagine the universe before you existed. The stars still burned. The oceans still churned. Entire empires rose and fell, all without you. And yet, somehow, against impossible odds, you came into existence. But why now? Why this moment? If there was once an infinite void where you did not exist, what stops that void from reclaiming you? If you didn't exist before, why do you exist now? You were not here for the birth of the universe. You were not here for the billions of years before your parents met. And one day, the world will move forward without you again. So what changed? Why did consciousness awaken now, inside you, and not in some other moment? Consciousness emerged randomly versus consciousness always existed. Science tells us consciousness is an accident, a byproduct of evolution. A spark of self-awareness that emerged from a chaotic universe. If true, that means the nothingness that came before you will follow after. But what if consciousness has always existed? What if awareness is not something that begins or ends, but something that simply is, taking new forms, new minds, new bodies? If this is true, then perhaps you were never truly born, you only awakened. If life came from nothing, does it return to nothing? If the universe was silent for eternity before you arrived, will it be silent for eternity once you're gone? Or is there something beyond that void? Something waiting to reclaim you? Or perhaps, if the universe existed for billions of years without you, What if it was only waiting for you to wake up? The silent observer inside your mind. If there's a voice in your head, who is listening? You think. You plan. You remember. But somewhere, behind all of this, there is something else. A presence. A silent observer watching your thoughts unfold. It does not speak. It does not act. It simply watches. But what is it? Is this the true essence of you, or just another illusion? You experience emotions, yet something inside you remains unchanged. You make choices, yet something within you stands apart, merely observing. Is this silent awareness you? Or are you nothing more than the thoughts it watches? Some believe this silent observer is the core of consciousness, a pure awareness, separate from the body. A being beyond the limits of time, simply inhabiting a biological machine. Others argue that this is nothing more than an illusion. That the watcher is not separate from the brain, but just another trick of neural activity. Your thoughts, your emotions, your awareness itself, nothing more than electrical signals firing in a hollow skull. Are we mere passengers, helplessly watching as our bodies carry us through life? Or is there something deeper, something that transcends flesh and neurons? If the silent observer is real, then what is it watching? And why does it feel so separate? If you are watching your own thoughts, then who, or what, is watching you? The simulation that's slowly breaking down. What if the universe isn't behaving strangely, but rather breaking down? You see it sometimes, don't you? The little inconsistencies. The things that don't quite add up. A stranger's face that looks eerily familiar, though you've never met. A word that sounds completely foreign, despite speaking your language fluently. The way time sometimes feels too fast, too slow, too wrong. You tell yourself it's just your mind playing tricks. A lapse in memory. A coincidence. A trick of perception. But what if it's not? What if these are cracks? Signs that reality is not what it seems? What if, beneath this world, beneath the laws of physics, the structure of existence itself is beginning to fail? Some believe we live in a simulation. A vast, artificial construct designed to appear real. And if that's true, then what happens when it starts to glitch? What happens when the code that holds it all together begins to break apart? You hear stories. People seeing the same stranger twice in impossible ways. Objects appearing in places they shouldn't be. Whole moments repeating, as if time itself had to reset. And then there are the ones who disappear. Feel free to let this video play in the background. People who walk into another room, whether you're relaxing again, working, or digital records wiped. Photographs the visuals don't matter. Conversations only the journey of thought. Just no one remembers them, and let your mind wander. And if you enjoy this kind of content, but the glitches a like and a sub would mean a lot. The sun helps keep these explorations going. The stars change positions overnight. The faces in old pictures look slightly wrong, as if reality itself is struggling to maintain its consistency. And then, one day, something happens that you can't explain away. Something undeniable. A person you know, a friend, a family member, says something they shouldn't know. Something from your past they were never part of. Or worse, they look at you with recognition, but you don't know who they are. And in that moment you feel it, the weight of something unseen pressing down. The sense that you've noticed too much. That the system is watching. Would you want to find out the truth? Would you keep searching, knowing that the deeper you look, the more unstable things will become? Or would you try to forget, pretend you never noticed, and hope that whoever, or whatever, is running this place never realizes you've figured it out? Because if you've started seeing the cracks, then maybe the simulation has started seeing you. The last human to ever exist. You notice it first in the little things, objects not being where you left them, conversations repeating like echoes from a dream. The world around you seems off. But what if these aren't just tricks of the mind? What if they are glimpses behind the curtain? Proof that something is deeply, fundamentally broken. For years, scientists and philosophers have speculated on the nature of reality. The simulation hypothesis, proposed by figures like Nick Bostrom, suggests that if a civilization advances far enough, it will inevitably create digital worlds so convincing that their inhabitants won't know they're simulated. And what if that's us? Some claim the evidence is all around us. Double-slit experiments hint at observer-dependent reality. Quantum mechanics suggests particles don't decide their state until measured. Even bizarre personal experiences, déjà vu, the Mandela effect, inexplicable coincidences, begin to sound like artifacts of a programmed world struggling to maintain coherence. But perhaps it's not proof at all. Maybe the brain, a pattern-seeking machine, is simply seeing structure where none exists. So the question remains, if you knew for certain that you were inside a simulation, what would you do? Would you try to break free? Find the ones who programmed it? Or would you pretend you never knew? After all, does it even matter if the experience feels real? And here's the terrifying part. If we are in a simulation, what happens when the program is no longer interested in running us? Maybe the strange coincidences and unexplainable moments aren't mistakes. Maybe they're warnings, glitches in the system. And if the simulation is breaking down, what happens next? The horror of infinite versions of you. Right now you are making a choice. Maybe it seems small, barely worth noticing. But what if, in this moment, reality split? What if another version of you, somewhere, made a different choice? And another. And another. How many of you exist? Every decision, every hesitation, every impulse, creates a fork in the road. A version of you that turned left instead of right. A version that said yes instead of no. A version that walked away when you stayed. Somewhere, there is a version of you that never lost that person you loved. A version of you that never made that one mistake. A version of you that got everything right. Does that make you the failure? Imagine it. An infinite series of realities, stretching out forever, each one containing a different version of you. Some are only slightly different, an altered thought, a missed opportunity. Others are unrecognizable, shaped by choices you will never make. If every possibility exists, then somewhere, you are living your perfect life. Every dream fulfilled, every regret erased. But you will never meet that version of yourself. You will never know if they are happier, if they are better, if they are the one who truly deserve to exist. And what if it doesn't stop there? What if these versions of you are not just possibilities but real? What if, right now, another version of you is watching a completely different video, asking the same question? What if you are just one of countless reflections, each believing they are the original? What if none of you are? And if there are infinite versions of you, which one is the real you? Or is there no real you at all? When you stare into a mirror, do you ever wonder how many others are staring back? The haunting thought, what if you're the only conscious being? The haunting thought, what if you're the only conscious being? What if you're the only person who has ever truly thought? What if everything else is just filler? Look around. People talk, laugh, move through their lives as if they are real, as if they think and feel the same way you do. But do they? Or are they simply responding, reacting, imitating consciousness without ever truly having it? You assume other minds exist. You assume they experience the world like you do. But how can you be sure? You will never hear their thoughts, never feel their emotions, never step inside their minds. Feel free to let this video play in the background. Every conversation you've ever had, whether you're relaxing, every relationship, or drifting every moment of connection, what if visuals don't matter more than an illusion, only the journey of thought, script being played out in a world designed only for you. Just listen and let your mind wander. Some call this solipsism. And if you enjoy this kind of content, the idea that your mind is the only thing that truly exists, it helps keep these explorations going. That the world around you, the people you know, even the universe itself, could be nothing more than a projection, a dream, a construct. And if that's true, then what are you? A god? A prisoner? A mistake? Think back to a time when you were alone. Truly alone. No one around. No voices, no footsteps, just silence. In that moment, did the world exist beyond what you could see? Or was it waiting for you to look at it again? When you leave a room, does it continue, or does it vanish until you return? But what if the opposite is true? What if consciousness is shared? What if we are all part of something larger, a single awareness split into billions of fragments, each one believing itself to be alone? Every mind a shattered piece of the same whole, desperately searching for its missing parts? Would that be better, or worse? If you were the only true mind in existence, how would you ever know? Would you search for proof? Would you scream into the void, demanding an answer? Would you test the people around you, looking for a crack in the illusion? Or would you do the only thing left to do, accept that whether anyone else is real or not, you are still here? Watching. Thinking. Existing. But here's the real question. If you are the only mind, then who or what is watching you? The other you that's watching right now. What if, right now, another version of you is making a completely different choice, and wondering the exact same thing? In an infinite universe, there is statistically another you out there. Maybe not just one, maybe millions, maybe an uncountable number. Some nearly identical, others so different they would be unrecognizable. But one of them, somewhere, is watching this exact moment, thinking these exact thoughts, questioning whether you exist, just as you are questioning them. Are you unique? Or are you just one of countless iterations, an echo of a decision that played out infinitely across parallel timelines? You try to imagine them. Sitting where you are sitting, breathing as you are breathing. Do they regret what you regret? Do they know what you do not? If another version of you was living the perfect life, the life you dream about, would you want to switch places? Could you? Or are you trapped in this version, forced to live out only this path while another version of you gets everything right? Perhaps, in another reality, you are already there. The version of you that never made a mistake. The one who had the courage to take risks, to say yes instead of no, to walk through the door instead of turning back. You wonder if they think about you the way you think about them. If they look at their life and wonder what would have happened had they made a single wrong turn, had they become you. But what if they aren't just imagining? What if, at this very moment, they are watching? What if they have found a way to see through the barriers between realities, peering into your world like a god observing a lesser version of themselves? And if there is another you, how do you know which one is real? The thought that no human has ever had. Try to think of something completely new, something no human has ever considered before. Can you? Every idea, every word, every concept that passes through your mind is built on something else. A memory, a story, a pattern learned from the world around you. Your thoughts feel unique, but are they? Or are they just variations, remixes of everything that came before? Is it even possible to have an original thought? Or has everything that can be imagined already been imagined? Some say that the brain is limited, that every thought is a reaction, a reinterpretation of past experiences. Others believe that new ideas are always possible, that somewhere, buried deep in the fabric of the mind, there are thoughts waiting to be formed, ideas never spoken, concepts never dreamed of. But how would you know? If every thought is simply a remix of past knowledge, then even the greatest innovations, the most profound philosophies, the most mind-bending revelations, are they truly original? Or are they just echoes of something forgotten, rediscovered in a new form? Somewhere, in the vast history of human existence, billions of minds have thought, dreamed, and wondered. Has every possible thought already been formed somewhere, at some time? Or is there still something left, an undiscovered spark of originality waiting in the depths of a mind that has yet to awaken? And if no human has ever had a truly new thought, then where did the first thought come from? The universe that was created just for you. What if, the moment you close your eyes, the universe disappears, and only returns when you look? You assume the world is still there when you're not observing it. That the city beyond your walls continues, that the people around you persist even when you cannot see them. But how do you know? What if nothing existed until the moment you became aware of it? What if the world was built around you, second by second, moment by moment, like a stage set assembling itself just in time for you to enter? Some believe in an objective reality, a universe that existed long before you arrived and will continue long after you're gone. Feel free to let this video play in the background. Whether you're relaxing, if everything you know comes from your own mind, your senses, the visuals your don't memories, matter, your thoughts, only the journey of thought. How can you be certain just that anything exists and let your mind perception? And if you enjoy this kind of content, feel real, a like and a sub would mean a lot. It helps keep these explorations going. The way objects hold weight, the way people speak and act as if they exist beyond your mind. But the moment you wake up, it all vanishes. Not just the people, not just the places, but the very laws of the world itself. What if waking life is no different? If everything around you is an illusion designed just for you, does that make you special? Or does it make you a prisoner? And if you truly believe the universe exists beyond your perception, close your eyes. And tell me, what do you see? The unfinished thought that will haunt you forever. Have you ever had a thought that vanished before you could finish it? What if that was on purpose? Your mind is a machine, constantly processing, calculating, predicting. But sometimes, just sometimes, a thought arrives that is so unsettling, so dangerous, that your brain refuses to complete it. A whisper of something too terrible to acknowledge, a realization that hovers just beyond your grasp. You almost see it, almost understand, and then it's gone. Replaced with something safer. More manageable. Something that won't break you. Is it a form of mental self-defense? A survival mechanism, shielding you from a truth that could unravel your sanity? Or is it something else? A warning? A hidden message from the depths of your own consciousness, trying to reveal something you are not ready to know. There are things the mind is not meant to comprehend. Ideas so vast, so terrifying, that understanding them could shatter the fragile illusion of normalcy. Perhaps, deep within your subconscious, you have already discovered something unspeakable. Something your waking mind cannot bear to acknowledge. And what if that unfinished thought is still there? Lurking in the corners of your mind, waiting for the right moment to return. Waiting for the day you are strong enough, or foolish enough, to finally complete it. If you could reach for that thought, finish it, force your mind to reveal what it tried to bury, would you? Or would you wish you had let it remain forgotten? And if you do find it, will you ever be able to forget it again? The word that shouldn't exist. What if there's a word that, once spoken, can never be unheard? A concept that, once understood, changes everything? Language is the foundation of thought. It shapes how we understand the world, how we define reality. But some words describe things that should not exist. Some words do more than convey meaning, they create it. What if, somewhere in the vast history of human speech, a mistake was made? A word was spoken that was never meant to be uttered. A word that doesn't just describe reality, but alters it. Words have power. They shape belief, construct meaning, define the limits of what we know. But some words are different. Some words do not name things that exist. They bring things into existence. There are ancient texts, locked away, containing phrases so old their meanings are unknown. Languages lost to time, sounds erased from history. Yet some claim those words still linger. That once, long ago, someone spoke a word that was never meant for human tongues. A word that twisted reality just enough to let something slip through. And what if that word still exists, waiting to be read, waiting to be spoken again? Would you say it, knowing it could change your mind, your perception, even the fabric of existence itself? Or would you leave it buried, hoping that whatever it brought into the world remains locked away? But then again, what if you've already said it? The sound that nobody should ever hear. There are sounds no human should hear. What if you already have? The world is filled with sound. The low hum of machines, the distant murmur of voices, the subtle rustling of wind through unseen spaces. But sometimes, in the moments between noise, there is something else. Something wrong. Have you ever heard a sound that made your skin crawl for no reason? A faint whisper just outside your hearing range? A frequency that sent a chill through your bones, as if something had just noticed you? Some sounds are not meant for us. Some sounds were never meant to be heard. Scientists have discovered frequencies that can alter perception, induce fear, even cause hallucinations. But what if those are just the surface? What if, in certain places, under certain conditions, there exists a sound so unnatural that simply hearing it changes you? What if somewhere in the background noise of existence, something is speaking, and if you listen too closely, you might finally hear what it has to say? Would you dare seek it out? Would you put on the headphones, tune into the static, and try to find the sound that no human should ever hear? And if you do, what happens when it hears you? The life you almost lived. Right now, there is another version of you living the life you should have had. Would you switch places? Every choice you've ever made has led you here. But what if, somewhere out there, another version of you made a different choice? Took a different path? What if they got everything right? If they lived the life you were supposed to live? You feel it sometimes, don't you? The nagging sense that something is missing. Feel free to let this video play in the background, whether you're relaxing, working, flashes of another drifting off to sleep. A job you never took. The visuals don't matter. A love you let only slip the journey away. Of thought. A dream you never just followed. Listen and let your mind wander. What if those aren't just regrets? And if you enjoy this kind of content, glimpses of something a like real, and a sub would mean a lot. There are theories that every decision creates a split, another timeline, another reality, where the other choice became real. If that's true, then there are countless versions of you, living out countless lives. Some worse, some better. But somewhere, there is a version of you that never failed. Never hesitated. Never lost. Would you want to meet them? Would you want to trade places? Or what if they are looking for you, wanting to switch? After all, how do you know you are the better version? The last thought in the universe. In the end, when all the stars go dark and time itself stops, what will be the final thing anyone ever thinks? One day, the universe will end. Not just the earth. Not just the stars. Everything. The last light will fade, the last atom will break apart, and silence will stretch across an infinite void. But before that, there will be one final consciousness. One last being, one last mind, thinking one last thought. Will it be fear? A desperate plea against the inevitable, clinging to the last flicker of existence? Will it be sadness? A mourning for everything that was and will never be again? Or will it be peace? A quiet understanding that all things must end, that even the universe itself cannot last forever? Some believe that when the universe dies, consciousness will find a way to survive, that thought itself may persist beyond the destruction of reality. Others believe that nothing remains. That when the last mind fades, so too does everything else. That the final thought will simply end. But if you were the last being in existence, and you had only one thought left, just one, what would you want it to be? And would you choose to think it, knowing it would be the last thought that ever was? The stranger that knows everything about you. What if someone, right now, is watching you? What if they know what you're going to do before you do it? You're walking down the street, minding your own business, when you lock eyes with a stranger. Something about them feels off. They smile. Say your name. Ask you about something from your past, something you're sure you never told anyone. Your heart pounds. A coincidence, you tell yourself? A trick of the mind. But deep down, a whisper of doubt slithers in. What if this is no accident? What if someone, somewhere, has been keeping track of your entire life? You've heard stories before. People who meet strangers who seem to know too much. Who predict events before they happen. Who seem to have been waiting for them. Most laugh it off, forget about it. But some never do. Some spend years wondering how a person they had never met could know their secrets. Maybe it's all a trick. Maybe it's just the way our minds stitch together patterns, trying to make sense of the randomness of life. But what if there's something more? What if there are those who watch, who keep records, who know the twists and turns of your existence before you do? What if your life is not your own? And if you ever meet one of them again, if they reach out with that knowing look, that knowing smile, would you dare to ask them what happens next? What if they already know how your story ends? The moment you've already experienced in the future. What if every déjà vu was a warning? A reminder of something you were supposed to do differently? You feel it, that strange, unsettling familiarity. A moment that shouldn't feel like a memory, but does. A conversation you swear you've had before. A road you know you've never walked, yet somehow remember where it leads. Your brain tries to rationalize it. A misfire, a glitch, an illusion. But what if it's something else? What if you've lived this moment before? Some say déjà vu is just a trick of the mind, your brain misplacing memories, confusing the past with the present. But others believe it's something more. That time is not linear. That reality folds in on itself. That we don't just experience time, we relive it. What if, in some other version of events, you already made this choice? What if déjà vu is the only clue you have that you are walking a path you've already walked before? What if it's a message, a chance to do something different, to escape a cycle you don't even realize you're trapped in? If you could remember every moment you've already lived, would you be able to break free? Or would you realize that no matter how many times you try, you always end up back in the same place? And if you could remember your future as clearly as your past, would you change it? Or have you already tried? The consciousness that exists between thoughts. There are moments, tiny fractions of time, where your mind goes completely blank. What if something else is thinking in those moments? You are aware of your thoughts. You can trace them, shape them, control them. But have you ever noticed the gaps? The brief pauses between one thought and the next? The spaces where your mind goes completely silent. Most don't think about them at all. But what if you should? What if, in those gaps, something else is lurking? Some neuroscientists believe the brain operates in cycles, moments of consciousness flickering in and out. Feel free to let this video play in the background. Whether you're relaxing, what if, in the brief silences or drifting between those cycles, the visuals don't matter. Only the something that is not you, but has always been there, and let your mind hiding in the spaces between your thoughts. And if you enjoy this kind of content, you don't notice a like and a sub would mean a lot until you're not paying attention. It helps keep these explorations going. It lives in the pauses, the skipped beats, the moments where your mind isn't fully connected. And when you return to yourself, when the next thought forms, you never question where you were in between. But what if, the next time your mind goes blank, you try to stay there? What if you refuse to let the next thought come? What if you listen to the silence, try to feel what exists between? And what if, for the first time, something else notices you back? The person you see in the mirror is not you. Every time you look into a mirror, something looks back. But what if, one day, it moves before you do? You see yourself every day. You trust that the reflection in the mirror is you. But have you ever felt uneasy looking at your own face? Have you ever stared for just a little too long, waiting for something to feel wrong? Mirrors are simple. Just glass and reflection, light bouncing back. But cultures throughout history have warned that mirrors are more than just surfaces. That they are doorways. That what you see is not just a reflection, but a version of you that exists somewhere else. Some say that mirrors trap fragments of the soul. That with every glance, every lingering stare, something on the other side takes note. You assume the reflection is simply mimicking your movements, but how do you know? Have you ever watched long enough to be certain? And what if, one day, you see it? A hesitation. A flicker of movement before you even begin to move. A subtle delay that makes your stomach drop. A moment where you realize, the thing in the mirror isn't just copying you. It's watching. And it has been for a very long time. The hidden reality that's just one step away. What if you could shift your vision just slightly, and see the true world hiding behind this one? We trust our senses. We believe the world we see is the real one. But what if it isn't? What if this reality is nothing more than a fragile layer, a paper-thin construct stretched over something far stranger? What if the sky is just a ceiling? What if the ground beneath you is nothing but a shallow mask covering something else? You've felt it before, haven't you? The strange sensation that things aren't quite right. That there's something just beyond your perception, something moving behind the scenes. A pattern you can't quite grasp, a crack in the illusion too small to notice, until, one day, it isn't. Somewhere out there, hidden in the static between radio signals, buried in the unread pages of ancient texts, whispered by those who have seen too much, there is knowledge of what lies beyond. Some claim that reality is layered, that what we perceive is only the first veil, the first illusion. Beneath it lies something deeper, something truer, and perhaps, something far more dangerous. Would you want to see it? Would you dare to reach out and peel back the curtain? Or would you be afraid of what's looking back from the other side? Because if there is something behind this reality, it has been watching you for a very, very long time. The thought that no one has ever had before. What if your brain is filtering out the one thought that could change everything? Every idea, every concept, every realization you have ever had, someone, somewhere, has had it before. Every philosophical question, every mathematical theory, every artistic inspiration, all of it has been thought before. But what if, just once, you could have a thought that was truly original? A thought that no other human in history has ever conceived? And what if that thought was something you were never meant to think? The brain is a machine. It processes, filters, categorizes. It keeps you sane by ensuring you only perceive what you need to perceive. But what if there are ideas so dangerous, so incomprehensible, that your mind prevents you from thinking them? What if, in the depths of your consciousness, there exists a thought so powerful that merely having it would rewrite your understanding of existence? Some people claim to have glimpsed it. Monks in deep meditation who suddenly go silent, unable to speak of what they've realized. Writers who wake in the middle of the night, trembling, unable to put their revelation into words. Scientists who stare at the numbers too long and see a pattern they wish they hadn't. What if reality has rules, and one missing thought, one unspoken realization, is the key to breaking them? Would you want to think it? And if you somehow did, would you still be you? The day you weren't supposed to exist. What if, for just one day, you existed in a timeline where you shouldn't be alive? You wake up. The sun rises. The world moves as it always has. But something feels wrong. It's subtle at first. A misplaced object. A memory that doesn't quite fit. People looking at you just a little too strangely, as if they weren't expecting to see you. You brush it off. A trick of the mind, a restless night, nothing more. But as the day goes on, the feeling grows. The clock seems to tick offbeat. Conversations repeat as if you've already had them. And then, at some point, you stumble upon something you weren't meant to see, a newspaper with the wrong date, a digital record with your name. Feel free to let this video play in the background. Whether you're relaxing, what if you weren't supposed to be here, or drifting off to sleep? What if, in another version of events, only the journey of thought, a car crash, just listen and let your mind wander. And if you enjoy this kind of content, a like and a sub would mean a lot. You weren't supposed to wake up explorations going. And if you've slipped into a reality where you shouldn't exist, how long before it notices? Because things have rules. Time has rules. And if you've broken one of them, something will come looking to correct it. The message that was never meant for you. What if you received an email, a letter, or a text that was meant for someone else, and it contained a terrifying truth? You check your phone. A notification. An email. No sender. No subject. Just a single line of text. Leave now. They are watching. Your heart races. A prank? A mistake? You go to delete it, but before you can, the message deletes itself. Gone. Like it was never there. You try to shake it off. But then, strange things start happening. A second message arrives. This time, a name, your name. The details are too precise, too personal. Someone, somewhere, knows something about you. And the more you try to ignore it, the worse it gets. A call from an unknown number. Silence on the other end. A man on the street watching you just a little too long. Your reflection in the mirror, slightly off. Maybe it's all a coincidence. Maybe it's an error in the system. Or maybe you've intercepted something you were never meant to see. Maybe you've caught a glimpse of something much bigger, something hiding just beneath the surface of reality. And if that's true, then deleting the message won't make a difference. Because they already know you've seen it. And now, they're watching you. The person who was erased from reality. What if you were the only one who remembered a person who, according to the world, never existed? You recall their face. Their voice. The way they laughed, the way they spoke. You remember entire conversations, places you've been together. But when you mention them to someone else, confusion. Blank stares. Who? They ask. Are you sure you're not imagining things? You check your phone. No messages. No photos. You search their name online. Nothing. As if they never existed at all. You dig deeper. Old yearbooks, family albums, social media archives. The deeper you search, the more impossible it becomes. A void where a person once stood. And yet, their absence isn't just missing, it's wrong. You find old group photos where the space beside you feels unnatural, slightly off, like something has been erased but not replaced. Maybe your memory is faulty. Maybe you dreamt them up. But deep down, you know the truth, someone has been removed. Not just from history, but from reality itself. And the more you try to prove they were real, the more reality itself seems to push back. What if you are the only one keeping their existence alive? The last thread keeping them from disappearing entirely? And what if something, whatever removed them, is beginning to notice? So you wonder, if something can erase a person so completely, how long before it erases you too? The sleep experiment that went too far. There's a reason we have to sleep. What if someone tried to stop, and saw something they shouldn't have? Sleep is a weakness. That's what they believed. Scientists, military researchers, visionaries who thought human limitations could be overcome. That with the right methods, the right drugs, the right conditioning, sleep could be removed. It started well enough. The first days were fine. Then came the hallucinations, the paranoia, the feeling of being watched. Not by the researchers. Not by cameras. By something else. At first, they dismissed it as exhaustion, the mind unraveling from deprivation. But then, the subjects began to change. Not just mentally, physically. Eyes too wide. Movements too sharp. Speech too slow, as if something else was speaking through them. One by one, they started describing the same thing. The shadows in the corners that weren't just shadows. The whispers that didn't belong to the researchers. A presence that only those who hadn't slept could see. Some theories say sleep is not just rest, but a reset. A way for the mind to disconnect from something during the hours of darkness. If we stop sleeping, if we refuse to shut ourselves off, what do we start to see? And more importantly, what sees us? The numbers that shouldn't exist. There are numbers in the universe that shouldn't exist, and yet they do. Why? Math is absolute. The language of reality itself. Equations balance, patterns emerge, the universe follows strict, predictable rules. But not always. Some numbers break those rules. They appear in equations where they shouldn't. They emerge in places they have no reason to be. Scientists dismiss them as anomalies, errors, statistical noise. But they always return. Numbers that seem meaningless, until you look closer. There are coordinates that
Feel
lead
free
nowhere.
to let this video play in the
Sequences
background,
that defy
whether you're
logic.
relaxing, working,
Prime numbers
or drifting
that
off
exist
to
when
sleep.
they shouldn't.
The
A
visuals don't
researcher
matter.
once described
Only the
finding a
journey of
number
thought.
that seemed to break
Just
reality
listen,
itself,
and let
an
your mind
impossible
wander.
value that existed
And if you
between
enjoy
the
this
rules
kind of content,
mathematics.
a like and a sub
It
would
was
mean a
quickly
lot.
removed
It
from
helps keep these
scientific
explorations
records.
going.
No one speaks of it now. Somewhere, buried in those figures, is a message. A pattern hiding in plain sight. And those who have tried to decipher it have disappeared. What if reality isn't infinite but coded? A structure, a design? And what if these numbers weren't mistakes, but cracks? Would you want to see the number that proves none of this is real? Or would you look away before it's too late? The person who died in your dreams. Have you ever dreamed of someone's death, only to wake up and find out it actually happened? You've had strange dreams before. We all have. But this one was different. It felt real. You saw them, panicked, struggling, suffering. And when you woke up, the feeling lingered. The fear. The certainty. And then your phone buzzes. The news. The message. They're gone. A coincidence? Just the subconscious playing tricks? Maybe. But then it happens again. And again. Names you haven't heard in years. Strangers you don't recognize. The deaths keep coming, and somehow, your dreams are always ahead of them. Some believe dreams connect us to something deeper, a space between life and death, between past and future. That in sleep, we step outside of time itself. But what if it's not just death you're seeing? What if you are meant to see it? What if something, someone, is showing you these moments? A warning? A test? One day, you dream of someone you've never met. A stranger. A face burned into your mind by morning. You shake it off, until you see them in real life. Walking past you. Breathing. Alive. For now. So if you dream of someone's death again, what will you do? Try to warn them? Or accept that some things were never meant to be changed? And if you're dreaming about death so often, who's to say someone isn't dreaming about yours? The unspoken rule of reality. Have you ever felt like there's something you shouldn't do, something you've never been told not to do, but somehow, you know? It's an instinct. A silent understanding. There are things no one ever talks about, yet everyone obeys. Maybe it's superstition. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's something deeper. A rule so ingrained into the fabric of reality that breaking it would change everything. You try to think back. When did you learn it? Who told you? No one. It's just there. A hidden law that governs existence, woven into the way people move, speak, act. Have you ever felt the urge to do something completely irrational? To say a word you've never heard before? To touch something you instinctively know you shouldn't? Have you ever been alone in a room and felt the pressure of something waiting for you to make a mistake? Maybe it's something as small as looking up when no one else does. Maybe it's turning down a street you've never walked before, only to feel a terrible sense that you weren't supposed to be there. Or maybe it's deeper than that, an impulse buried so far down that you've never acknowledged it. A warning signal humming beneath your thoughts, guiding your every action without you even realizing it. What if the rule isn't just about what you do? What if it's about what you don't do? What if reality is held together by something fragile, something so easily disrupted that even the smallest wrong action could break it apart? What if there is something watching, waiting, ensuring that you never step out of line? And what if the moment you do notice it, the moment you begin to question the rule, it notices you back? The word that rewrites your mind. There are words that, once spoken, will never leave your mind. Would you dare listen? Language shapes reality. The way we see, think, and understand the world is built through words. But what if there was a word unlike any other? A word that doesn't just describe reality, but changes it? You hear it in a whisper. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe someone said it too close to you, and now it's inside your head. You try to forget it, but you can't. The word repeats, over and over, twisting its way through your thoughts. The more you try to ignore it, the louder it becomes. It's not just a word. It's a virus. A self-replicating pattern that alters the way your mind works. You notice things you shouldn't. Patterns in the way people speak. Strange gaps in your memories. A creeping sensation that reality itself is slightly off. You look in the mirror, and for the first time, you realize you don't quite recognize the person looking back. You try to say your own name, and for a moment, it doesn't sound right. You try to write something down, and the letters seem wrong, unfamiliar. You flip through an old journal and see entries in your own handwriting, words that you should understand, but don't. You listen to music you've loved for years, and something is missing. A note that was once there, but is now absent. A change so subtle, so insidious, that you wouldn't have noticed if it weren't for the word. And that's when you understand. Feel free to let this video play in the background. The word didn't just enter your mind. Whether you're relaxing, it replaced something that used to be there. The visuals you'll never know what it was. Only the journey of thought. The reality you're not allowed to remember. And let your mind wander. What if there was something you once knew? And if you enjoy this kind of content, so terrifying, a like and a sub would mean a lot. That it was erased these explorations going. You feel it sometimes. A strange absence. A hollow space in your thoughts where something important used to be. It's not like forgetting where you left your keys or the name of an old friend. It's deeper than that. A memory that isn't just gone, it was taken. You try to focus on it, to remember. But the more you try, the more your mind resists. You get distracted. Your thoughts slip away. The moment you come close, it fades like a dream dissolving in the morning light. But some things leave traces. Fragments of something bigger. A song that feels eerily familiar, but you don't know why. A face in a crowd that fills you with inexplicable dread. A place you're certain you've never been, yet your body reacts as if it remembers something horrible happening there. Maybe it's a single word you can't quite recall, something on the tip of your tongue that refuses to form. Maybe it's a name that sends a shiver through your spine, even though you swear you've never heard it before. Or maybe, just maybe, it's an entire life, one that you once lived, one that was real, before it was erased. What if this isn't the first time you've asked these questions? What if every time you got too close to the truth, it was erased again? You start to notice patterns. The way certain books seem to disappear from libraries. The way old newspapers have entire sections blacked out. The way your own childhood memories feel edited, like someone has cut and rearranged the film reel of your past. And then, one night you dream. It's not like any dream you've had before. It feels real. A voice is speaking to you, urgent, desperate. They're trying to tell you something you must remember. And just as the words begin to form, just as the truth is about to reveal itself, you wake up. And whatever it was, is gone. But this time, for the first time, you write it down. You leave yourself a message. And when you wake up the next morning, you find a piece of paper by your bed, written in your own handwriting, with only one sentence. Do not let them erase you again.